Welcome back to Moonkin Stitchery. My name is Crystal, and today I have a bunch of Valentine's Day scraps from an older collection many years ago, and I thought now is the perfect time to make something scrappy with it. So I went ahead and came up with an improv heart quilt block using up the scraps and some leftover Moda fabric that is grunge. First up, I'm going to cut the red Moda grunge fabric into a 6.5" by 10" rectangle, and this will then be the base of the main print for the heart. Now you will need 2 of these rectangles for 1 heart block. Next, I'm going to take a piece of blank white paper and I'm going to make myself a template by first drawing a 6.5" by 10" rectangle again. And now I'm going to create half of a heart. Now, the deeper the line to the center, the more skinny tall your heart will be. If you were to have a short center point, it will be more of like a chunky heart. Now what I did was mark 4 inches down and 3¼ inches in from the top, and then I drew a line and connected those two together. Now this will sort of give me like a deep V heart shape roughly. Then I went ahead and decided to do a 45-degree line from the bottom point until I've reached the edge of my rectangle that I drew, and then lastly I'm just going to connect those 2 points together to complete the heart shape. Now I am going to cut the heart shape template out, and I do recommend giving yourself some notes of where your center or the half is, as well as which side is the top, just in case you don't get nothing mixed up while you're making several blocks. Now your measurements can be different or the same. This is an improv quilt block, so there are no rules. You can make it however you like or whatever fits the size scraps that you have left over. Then using a fabric marking tool, pen, pencil, whatever you like, with your heart print right side up, trace your heart template like so, and you're going to want to repeat this by flipping your template over and tracing a left side for the left side of your heart. And now it's time to bring in the scraps. A lot of my scraps are about 3 inches or wider, so I will be cutting some into a thinner strip just to give myself some more variety. But going in a clockwise like motion for similar to a log cabin style block, I am going to start from the center point of the heart, then make my way to the top right, and then lastly the bottom. So starting from the center, I'm going to line up my strip on the line that I just traced my template on the right sides together, which then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but before you sew it, you may want to flip it over to make sure your ends make it all the way towards the end. Now I am going to sew on the strip, and once you've sewn the strip on, go ahead and iron it open, and then you're going to want to trim off the excess fabric. Then once again, working like a log cabin block, you're now going to select another strip of fabric and line it up next to the line you drew for the template and sew a 1/4 inch again. Now just make sure the second strip also covers the first strip that you just added on, and you're going to sew it together and iron it open. Then I'm going to repeat the same steps for the bottom point of the heart. And once you have completed 1 round of strips on your heart, you may want to give it a good trim. Just take your straight edge ruler and line it up where your center heart is and cut. Now it's time for round 2. So we're going to go in the same motions clockwise, and you're just going to take another strip and sew it on top of the very first strip that you added. You will once again just keep repeating these steps and just adding on and on and on more strips. Once you've added a few strips around your heart block, you may want to now decide what size block you will like to create. Now I have chosen to do a 15.5-inch block, so I'm going to take a 15.5-inch square ruler and find the middle point. After sewing strips around my red heart, the heart now measures about 9 inches tall. And I'm going to divide that in half and then mark my center point in the middle of the heart. Then I'm going to place the ruler's center point on that area that I just marked and trim the extra fabrics that I have outside of the block. I am doing this now, so technically I will have wasted less fabric because I won't need to add a strip that extends past the point that I need to go. And this is when you will start to see the block come to shape. And that center point, all I will need to do is add a little tiny piece of fabric just to finish off that area. And then once again, make my way around the block, clockwise adding strips until I've covered enough of the area so I can trim my block down to a half a block. Now that I have completed the right half, I must make a left side of the heart now too. So same way but in a reverse fashion, I am going to start by adding a strip in the center portion of the heart, then adding the top side, and then lastly the bottom. And I will keep repeating in this counterclockwise order now. And once again, once I've completed a few strips around, I am going to find my heart center again and trim off excess fabric, and then start adding more strips until I have added enough to cover up the heart. Then once completed, I am going to square off the left side. And now I've completed a left and a right side for my heart. So lastly, we are just going to sew these two heart halves together to complete a quilt block. And now I still have quite a bit of scrappy strips left, so I am going to continue these steps and keep creating more and more blocks until I've used up all or a majority of my fabric scraps. Now I was able to complete 5 blocks, which would make a nice long table runner. And since I am making a table runner, I'm going to flip every other block upside down and sew them all together. Now you don't have to make yourself a table runner. You can make as many blocks as you like and make a throw, a bed-size quilt, whichever you prefer. But what makes this quilt great is if you're not perfect at matching your seams or points together, it really will not matter. Nothing actually lines up except for your block seams. But lastly, all you need to do is quilt it and add your binding. Now I do hope you have enjoyed this improv scrappy heart quilt just in time for Valentine's Day, or make it for someone that you love. And if you could, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified for your next project. And otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day.